All right.
Woo!
Well, I'm so glad to have you back on another episode of My Presence Reclaimed. For everyone who does not already know, we are joined by the lovely Lucy. I have honestly been in such a weird hermit mode energy, like stuck, stagnant headspace, but also so expansive and a lot of
Yes.
change at the same time. It's been extremely awkward and uncomfortable, but it's also led to so many extremely like life-changing things happening. Possibly a move as well. And
Yeah.
the leading to the end of a 10-year relationship with the father of my child,
Oh,
whom
wow.
yeah, whom I still live with. Oh, there you go. Video
Oh,
on.
you're back. Oh, there you are. You're
Whom
back.
I still live with. And this has created a lot of opportunities for me to grow in self love. And when I started
Yeah.
thinking about how I wanted to bring this to my content, I was so excited to have this idea of this mini self love course. And you were one of the very first people that popped in my mind to talk with about self love. Your content's always popping up on my page exactly when I need it. And so yeah, I was like, okay, who do I want to talk with? Who is immediately Lucy? I was like, okay, yes. So I'm super
Yay.
excited. I channeled some questions that are a little bit shadow worky kind of vibe because that's just how I do.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there's anything that you want to skip for any reason, just feel free to just pass that one. Um, but yeah, let's just get right into it. So
Yeah.
I'm really curious, as a person who talks a lot about self love, talks a lot about pleasure, talks a lot about embracing yourself. How were you raised as a child? Like, was that instilled in you by your parents, or did you most definitely have to cultivate that for yourself?
I think you and I both know the answer to that.
Yeah, that little laugh, that little tita told me really all I needed to know.
It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's like the deeper that I've got into this work, all of the depths of it in the shadow work and in the receiving of pleasure, I've discovered more and more that pleasure is our most natural state of being.
Yeah.
Like when we're babies, we wanna like touch things and look at our like people and suck on things and like we just want to feel good, right? And pain happens because we're humans and this is the life that we are here in. Um, but so much of this process of self-love and of feeling more pleasure in our bodies and experiencing more pleasure in our lives is simply being willing to release pain, which you would think is so easy, right? Like, yeah, who wants to hold on to pain? Who wants to like who would do that? But pain is so familiar
Yeah.
and it feels safe. And as we've gone through different trips on like our different plant medicines and stuff, this has been the number one thing that has been coming up, and it's like, what are you still holding on to that? Because it's more relatable, or because there are so many people in pain that who am I to feel so much pleasure? Like all these stories. And so, anyways, I know I'm kind of going down a rabbit trail, but I was not taught that. I was not taught that. I knew deep down like that was my truth. I remember being a little kid and being so connected to the universe before I knew that it was supposed to be called God, by the environment that I was raised in. Um, and I knew that my pleasure wasn't sinful. Like deep down, I knew it was nothing to be ashamed of, but like just all these things, you're a child and you want to fit in and you want to be loved and accepted. And so in adulthood, I've had a lot of undoing of that and releasing a lot of the shame. And it's actually within like my self pleasure practice specifically that I've been able to release a lot of shame from my physical body that it was holding on to. So yeah, it was definitely a cultivated thing.
Well, good for you. That definitely takes, I know so many people have a 50-50 way of feeling about the word strength when it comes to so much and resilience and perseverance, but like it does. It takes such a mental strength. And We don't even realize how powerful we are in the way that we protect ourselves through our learned behaviors, through our survival tactics, through our ways
Yeah,
of
totally.
avoiding pain. Like that in itself is a strength because you shut yourself off from something you legitimately need in order to save yourself until it was safe to grow. And like that is
Yeah.
such a beautiful process to me. I most people don't
Yes.
like think about it that way or like look at it like that, but that perspective has kind of saved me a lot.
Yeah, yeah. You're always just your unconscious mind, your ego, your however we want to identify it. It's always just trying to keep you safe. And so we don't want to make it the bad guy. It's like it's oh cool, thanks. Thanks for being there for me when
Yes.
and doing this thing when I
Yes.
needed you to do it so that I could get through what I needed to get through. And now we can expand and we can let go.
That leads me into an unwritten question. So, this topic of shadow self that so many people are so fondly using, and I am one of those people. Um, what have you found within your shadow self that you have learned to appreciate that you were once like, fuck you for that one?
Oh God. So actually, okay, the biggest part of myself that I've resisted is like not as big as like oh my repressed sexuality through all those years. It's actually my judginess. When I decided that I was leaving the Christian church or I was no longer identifying myself with that particular faith, I had so much judgment towards the people that did. Like, how could you be so blind? How can you be such sheep? How can you just be so brainwashed? How can you? But that's just not my truth, you know. And so, and I wasn't just that. It was also just things that are very subtle as I was getting into more of like the spirituality realm and self help and personal development and coaching and all these things and trainings. Was this kind of a oh my way of doing shadow work or my way of developing myself is better than this person's way, or it's more evolved, or my way of doing sex is more evolved, or whatever. So it's just a lot of this really is the expansion of consciousness to the point that you can see beyond yourself and your specific journey and see that everyone is on their own path, and for whatever reason they're at the place that they're at doing it the way that they're doing, and it's not lesser than the way that I'm doing it. And if we can be of any service to people and just letting them in on our journey and giving them tools that have helped us and the people that we've already helped, then great. And so it gives so much freedom, because for me as like somebody who wanted to fix everything and everybody and just save everybody, it was so much fucking pressure. Like, but if my way doesn't work for this person, then I failed.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, if it's for you, it's for you.
I think
And
that
whatever.
so many people in the especially like the toxic love and light spiritual communities, there's so much pushing the one way works, and I'm loving seeing so much of the topic talk about like the new age spirituality is just evangelical Christian just repackaged and reserved to you. I'm like, thank you, because toxic love and light TikTok almost like broke my brain.
Oh God, no, and it's oh yeah, there's so much to say about that. It's like literally what when Jesus came here, this is my thought. He came here to set us free from all the bullshit and all the legalism and all of the religion. And then what did humans do? We just created a religion about him.
Yep.
It's the most ironic thing in the world.
I literally find it so funny, just everybody's bullshit about, all the things that Jesus would stand for versus he wouldn't. I'm like, bitches, you do understand he was literally flipping tables, feeding homeless, and you're sitting like, oh my
Yeah, this man was
god.
connected. He was not like I'm better than you or you or you. Like I am have a tea leaf in my mouth. I am equal. I am no better than you. And that is love. That is so I do believe that he was such a divine embodiment of divine love. And but anyways, it's just religion it serves a purpose. It keeps order. It's also caused a lot of pain and destruction. It keeps a lot of people feeling safe and like
That's
something to look forward
duality.
to. It's like both, and the thing is that both things can be true at once, and that's like I think one of the biggest lessons that we can take in this life.
Yeah, that's true for sure. Especially like as you start to dig within yourself, and especially like when self-love comes into play, two things can be true at once, because as I've been doing this work within my subconscious thoughts, trying to refirm myself, reprogram myself, I'm battling this past version of me versus this version I'm trying to create, and it creates like a void, like a legit depression, numbness. I'd rather be dead than feel this feeling.
Yeah,
And it's so confusing because I know it's past narratives versus what I'm trying to create. And it's literally just embracing that void space because I love myself so much. I'm willing to just roll up your sleeves, bitch, because it's gonna get
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. You're in the wilderness in the liminal space, and it's a beautiful place to be. Like you have, it's like we have to um, go through some degree of that, from what I've seen, to like integrate all of that and like make sense of it all enough so that we can move forward as this whatever expanded version of ourselves that we are becoming.
When you go through this surrender phase, this void feeling yourself, what is one thing that you tell yourself or reaffirm to yourself to bring yourself into not the reality you're in, but the reality you want?
Yeah. So one of the things that I remind myself of at this point is that I've been through this many times. So it's like you've done it before, you can do it again. The universe has got you. Like trust the process, trust yourself, trust the voice. And that is enough for me now. Even when it feels really dark or it feels like what the fuck, like what
Yeah.
nothing is making sense. Which we went through that, just moving into this home. Just, it was a huge process of surrender, and it was a lot. I'm not even gonna like get into it, but so that, and even just remembering that nothing lasts forever. Like nothing. This whole life is but a moment. And this is something crazy that you see, like these flashes of like this is life. Like this is it. When you do things like plant medicine journeys, which can really take you into some deep dark places and then see you through to the other side when you do it consciously with intention.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's remembering that all of this is temporary. And if you've done it before, reassuring, you know what, like, bitch, we got this. We did this before. You're going to come through this even stronger than the last time and continue showing up. Like, just don't quit. Just don't quit going.
Have a tattooed on my chest. Just don't quit. Just big bold numbers. Just don't quit.
Just
I was
don't
telling
quit.
myself I was gonna get a new tattoo.
There's that quote that goes around. It's like, learn to rest and not quit. I'm like that. It's that.
Really
When you
though.
just
Oh my
slow down
god.
and integrate and like breathe into what is happening in your life, and your body's like literally recalibrating, your nervous system is recalibrating. So physiologically, if you're used to operating more in your sympathetic nervous system, like flight, fight, freeze, and you're, always on edge looking for a threat, and you're recalibrating your actual nervous system to be more open to pleasure and more open to um,
Peace.
creative ideas, and yeah, and peace, and the feeling of ease and well-being. It's a practice, it's a process.
I've noticed that because like one thing I don't usually talk about very often, but like I'm starting to, so I guess today's the day. Is I deal with like what a lot of people would consider hallucinations, and what some people in the spiritual community have said are no, you're just seeing into other timelines, or you're seeing through the veil, and all the things, right? And I'm a type of person who is literally open to all of it. All of it's true and all of it's not, and I don't care. It's literally just about how I get through the moment of dealing with feeling like I'm seeing something or feeling something or hearing something, whatever, right? And I forgot my whole train of thought. Oh yeah. I noticed when I would come into stillness and I would start telling myself, like I would hear in the littlest voice, just be like, I love you, I'm here for you, like it's okay, like we're gonna get through it, like the same type of message. You've done it before, keep keep on swimming. That's what I tell
Yeah.
myself. Uh, but that's when the intrusive thoughts come in, the hallucinations, the voices, literally whatever it is that I'm experiencing in that moment. And from one side, I let myself go through it from a spiritual aspect, like if it's a low vibrational entity, whatever. But from the other side of it, I let myself feel into this is just I envision a brain that has been cracked open and it's literally just like, doesn't need to be filled, doesn't need to be sewed. Like what's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah, yeah.
Um and that has been such a way of showing myself such deep love and compassion because it's scary to feel into hallucinations. It's scary to open yourself up to spiritual communication. It's scary to
Yeah.
open yourself up to a past version of you that's like, fuck, all of it. So, what is one of the ways that you have unconditionally showed yourself love in such a radically compassionate way that you definitely would not have done as a past version of yourself?
Oh, um, the first thing that comes to mind is my pleasure rituals. Like that's a way that I practice self-love every single day. That has been radically transformational for me. Because whatever's there, whatever's present, whatever thoughts are there, whatever I'm feeling in my body, whatever energy is like just kind of like bubbling up or feeling like it's kind of stuck, like all of that is welcome in that practice. And so it's like there's this there's a lot of different quotes, a lot of different things about this, but one of them being the way that you touch or feel about your pussy is the way that you feel about yourself, and it reflects so much of that. And so I remember when I started to notice more subtly, like what am I feeling when I look at myself? When I touch myself, what am I feeling about myself? And at first, it was like disgust, it was like weirdness, with awkwardness, or you're just giggliness, or just like, what am I doing? Like, what the fuck am I
Yeah.
doing? This is weird. Who says this? Does this? But when you really sink into it, into the experience, so many things will come up, and then you get to look at them and sit with them and just accept them and be present with them. And and then decide, okay, like, do I like just make a decision to release something right now, or is there something that is there's space being made to receive, or is there some kind of judgment about myself, or something that I haven't forgiven myself for? And so each and every day is unique. And so yeah, if there's one way that I continue to show myself love pretty radically, it's in that.
I do give you props for that because it's not an easy practice to get into, I can tell you. Just for anybody listening, if you've been thinking about, especially the de-armoring, yeah, since I've been watching your content, I have been doing that work with myself, and it's triggering to say the least. I actually, now that you say that, it's how you see yourself when you touch yourself that way. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that definitely brought up some memories. So
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Your
I
body
think,
remembers
yeah,
everything.
that's for sure. And I remember like this one time when I was going through my practice and I just like started crying like profusely and I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on, and I literally just heard like the loudest shrieking voice in my head that was so quiet but so loud, and it's just like, he didn't love me, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, girl.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, shadow work.
Wow. Yes, yes. And see, it's like it'll come up. Whatever's ready to come up, will come up.
Okay. Processing that for a second. Yeah, because that was
Yeah.
for sure what I needed to hear in that moment. Um, in what ways were you either like shown by anyone? It doesn't have to be in your childhood in particular, but shown healthy love that respected your boundaries?
Ooh, that is a really great question. Especially because there's not like a human that I can remember in my childhood that really modeled that for me. My mother was the closest that really genuinely tried. Um, but she had her own unprocessed things and pain and lifelong stuff that's still carrying a lot of. Um, so yeah, I don't I it wasn't until my husband, and that was a cultivated thing, because neither of us knew what the fuck boundaries were because it wasn't modeled for either of us. Um, we also had a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of unprocessed stuff, just like hurting each other without even knowing what we were doing, just, reactive. So once we started to actually, when we started to get more into the kink and more of the all like taboo sexual stuff, that we learned how to actually set boundaries and how to honor each other's um, desires and fears and have that safe space for each other. So yeah, which, by the way, for anyone who's curious about that kind of world, I would definitely recommend exploring that in a safe space where boundaries and consent are at the top. Like, it's,
Absolutely.
yeah, indispensable.
I can attest to you don't want to especially experiment with someone who has disrespected your consent and boundaries before without having thorough conversations about boundaries and consent and
Yeah.
how to respect them. That leads to the loss of a 10-year relationship.
Oh man, yeah. Well, if
Lessons
it happens
learned.
repeatedly, oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. It's like things have to. That's kind of another trail, but I'm actually working on a course for couples right now, and going through the process of repairing ruptures. Which
Okay.
in a healthy attached relationship, ruptures can actually be a really powerful thing, because you can come through even stronger with a deeper trust, with a deeper trustworthiness, and a deeper connection. But if the rupture isn't actually repaired, that's what, like, over time it just keeps getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
and then it's
Um, just a thought in case you haven't already thought of this for your course, you can take this. Um, I had come from a situation in my personal experience where there's one person trying to heal and one person who's not. So
yeah,
if that, yeah, my clients talk to me a lot about that too. So maybe
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was us too. Yeah, and I hear that from a lot of people. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's hard. It's not easy.
especially when like the traumas, like you said, it's back and forth at each other and it's like picking at past scabs and creating new ones and they're overlapping and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I made a post, I think a couple days ago on Instagram. Like, it wasn't very in detail or anything, but just kind of touching on what doesn't work in those situations.
I'll have to check that out because I can probably check off a few of those.
But it's hard in the moment. It's hard in the moment because we just want to retaliate and we just want to, feel justified to hurt them. But
Okay, then how have you, with your partner, learned to control your egos, to respond rather than react in the moment?
yeah. Oh, sometimes, honestly, okay. One of the best things that you can do in the moment is just create a space. Set a boundary, like, okay, I'm not gonna talk right now. Which is so fucking hard to do when you have so much to say to prove yourself right and to prove them wrong. So
Yeah.
that's like, okay, how self-aware am I actually? Because it's gonna be put to the test in this moment. Like, how evolved am I?
And then the whole other, like, every time you get in an argument with a partner and you realize how much of it was a projection, you're like, oh, oh, that was me. That one was me.
Yeah. And there can be so much resentment too if you feel like you're the one who's always taking responsibility. Um, or if you feel like, but I always have to be the one to be the bigger person, or like shut my mouth and not hurt them back. But the thing is that there has to also be, if there's been a lot of time of a certain pattern, um, it doesn't just change overnight. When I first started getting into this work, and Ryan was like, I'm not so sure about this, and he was in the thick of all of going through his hell. He thought that my change in the way that I was talking to him and treating him was some kind of manipulation tactic to like get him to change.
Um,
And it took like a solid 6 months before he even, of me showing up consistently, not just like one time during a potential argument and then the next time, but like consistently, for him to finally be like, you know what, maybe there's something to this.
yeah, I could really,
Yeah.
really see that thought coming across. I hadn't thought of that before, but yeah, that's holding space for him
Yeah.
there, because yeah, that triggering
Yeah.
me, just
And it's like
feeling
a
that.
season, right? Yeah, because it can just be a season. Because we can, as like the feminine embodiment in the relationship, can be like, well, fuck them. Like they're supposed to hold space for me. They're the masculine. Like, why aren't they being fucking
Provide.
the container? They're not providing the container and the safety. It's like, okay, but if they have never been taught how to do that, if they've never experienced that, like they can't do that for you. Like, let's just like start. Let's start. What can you do? And how can you hold that space for yourself?
I literally
And then
just saw
expand that into that. Yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
saw the image of somebody trying to put a tent up with the sticks, but not the actual like tarp piece. They're like, "Yeah, you want me to provide that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's like it's a little incomplete there. It's a little something missing.
for you?" S'mores.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's put on a bonfire. Burn all this shit to the ground. Oh man. But yeah, when you again remembering nothing is permanent. All of it's temporary. It's if the bigger vision is there and you know that the values beneath all of whatever the shit that's going on are aligned and you see a future and you can work through like the worst shit together with that. But if there isn't that, and if someone's like legitimately just does not give a shit, and they're just like, you know what, I don't want to try. This is too hard. I want something that's easy, and they're not willing to put in like even a percentage of the work for that time being, because maybe that's all the capacity they have at that time. But if they're not even willing to grow in their capacity, then there's a different conversation that needs to be had.
That's for
You know.
sure. When you started learning about self-love and you started setting boundaries for yourself, obviously that is a jarring experience for the first couple of times when you're learning to use your voice in that way. How did that
Yeah.
feel for you afterwards, after the nervousness, after any in the interaction, but when you were able to sit back and process, what was that experience like?
Um. So I would say that it's not even just the first couple times, but even like the first couple years that you're setting boundaries for the first time, because your body is just so used to responding a certain way,
Yeah.
and again it takes time to like integrate that into your physiology and into your brain, and so it can feel scary. Like different contexts can bring it up, those old feelings again, and then you just notice and you're like, oh, there's that old familiar feeling again. Not going to judge myself or feel like, oh, I'm not as evolved as I thought. Like it's just you're just human. Okay.
Yeah,
And it
that
just
one's a
brought up another
trap.
layer. Yeah, yeah. It's just don't fall into the trap. But just what I it just feels different in the body. When you stand by your nose, you're not your nose, but like your nose. Don't stand by your nose, keep it on your face. Okay. But like when you stand by your no and you can own it and you can at first it's like an indignant no, like no, like fuck you, no. I said
Yeah.
no. No is a complete sentence. I do not need to say anything else, and yet we're sitting there saying that no is a complete sentence instead of like actually owning the no. So it's a part of the process. It's that reclamation when you go from being silent to finding your voice, and then there comes a point where you notice the shift where you can be more gentle and compassionate in your no, because most of the time that's actually what's required of us. Most of the time it's not someone trying to attack us and force us to do something. It just feels like that in our bodies. And so when we can see that, okay, like somebody's not actually trying to like force me down and like make me do something, I just feel like, oh, I feel pressure to do it. You're obligated. But when you teach your own body, your own nervous system, your own mind that this is okay, it's safe to say no. And again, another reason that I feel like the kink community is so healing for this, because you can in the proper way, when you say no, what you hear back is thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Not like but why, but like what about next time? It's and that in and of itself is a practice. um That's why like the event, we were at a kink and tantra event yesterday. And that's one of the key practices is just actually looking for the no, like walking around and asking people for things respectfully, lovingly, right? Not like being, like disrespectful about it, but asking for things, and then like being celebrating when they say no, because it sets a different memory into your body. It makes it less scary.
You just gave me a great idea for my self-love course.
Yay! The no is something we work with a lot with the couples, and something I'll also be integrating in the couples course. But it's like you can't fully own your yes if you don't honor your no.
Maybe I need that tattooed on me. I just get a
Yeah.
couple.
Honor my no, honor my yeses and nos. Yeah. And then the other people can trust you actually mean yes when you say yes, and you're not just doing it to make them happy.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. There's been so many times where like I have a group of friends where like a lot of us we deal with anxiety. So like a lot of times we're always just like, did you mean that? Did you like actually mean that? Or like, oh, like we do it back and forth. It's like, okay.
You're like, bitch, are you calling me a liar? Like, well, are you lying to yourself though? Are you?
Right? Always. Are you lying to yourself?
Um,
We actually
yeah, it takes
answered
time to.
some.
I lost your visual.
Uh-oh.
It's
Why does
cute.
that keep
I
happening?
like your picture.
Thank you.
Black lipstick. I love it.
Let's see. We actually answered so many of these questions just inadvertently, and I love it.
It just flows. It flows.
Oh, I do believe we answered all of the questions
Look at that. Oh.
besides these two. Or no, I can turn this into another one. Okay. How has your self-love journey affected your relationship with food?
Oh, this is interesting. Okay. So, food and I have been on quite a journey. I haven't had any kind of eating disorders or I felt really held captive by food, but there have definitely been seasons where I've been like, okay, I'm gonna cut out this for a season. When I had the autoimmune disorder for a while there, I did the GAPS diet. I was like eliminating all kinds of foods, and it just felt like this food is unsafe, and this food is unsafe. This food might be getting me sick. And so over time, what I've noticed is that my relationship with food is more, it's much more pleasurable. It's there isn't this scarcity of, not scarcity as in there's not enough food, but scarcity mentality in like, um, ah, like I'm gonna have my numbers are gonna be off or something. Like I have too many carbs, or I have too many
Right.
calories, or I have too much sugar. I just feel into my body. Does this feel good? Do I need more of this today? Do I really want this, or am I bored? Am I feeling like, am I just tired? Is it 11 p.m. and I'm just trying to
Yeah.
stay up, and so my body's like, hey, more food. So it's like, how can I honor my body? And I don't deprive myself of the foods that I love. So I don't, it's just it feels nourishing. Whatever I eat, even if it's bacon and cake.
Oh my God, bacon and cake. Oh. There was
I
this
love frosting.
video I saw on TikTok, and I was kind of unsure how I felt about it until the creator like messaged me back and did a whole video response thing. But long story short, I wish I could give them credit, but I don't remember. They were talking about how no matter what they eat, they like tell themselves in their mind that it's good for them. And at first, this like really triggered me because like I used to binge severely, and I know a past version of myself would have been like, "Oh my God, it's good for me!" Like I would
Permission
have,
to binge.
yeah,
Right.
it would have been that 100%. And so I was worried about like other people who would have been also in that space, and so I brought up people with eating disorders, people with unhealthy relationships with food as it is, and it turns out this creator also like dealt with an eating disorder, and this is actually one of the techniques that they used to work with their eating disorder to overcome and to transition into a healthier relationship with
Yeah.
food. And I started implementing this in my life, and holy fucking shit was I wrong. Because as a person who I've never been diagnosed with anything, but just based on self-reflection, I have dealt with eating disorders at times in my life, such as binging and anorexia, binging and purging, things of that nature. It was extremely bad. And
Mm.
I let myself now, like cinnamon rolls keep popping up in my head because I'm thinking
Oh,
of
they're my favorite.
Cinnabon.
My favorite.
But I let myself eat a cinnamon roll the other day because at Winco they had this package. It was so good, and I heated it up, and I started to feel shame when I was eating.
Ah,
And I was like, "Oh, nope, here it comes again. We gotta keep control of this." And so I sat there and I cried, and I let
yeah.
myself continue to eat the cinnamon roll. And I was like, "I love this so much, and I'm enjoying so much of it, and my inner child is loving this."
Yes.
So I'm just gonna do it. And if my calorie counter wants to keep going in my head, then fuck
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Yes.
So that was a
And you take
magical
the pleasure in
moment.
it. You take like full pleasure in it instead of like, I shouldn't be eating this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's something I love to do with everything I drink and eat? It's become just a habit now. Like I used when I was growing up, I used to pray for my food. Be like, thank you God for this food, bless the food, don't let it get us sick. Like don't let it fuck us up. But now it's like I set an intention. Like this is how I want to feel in my body when I consume this.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I literally envision like it entering my body. I do the same thing with my wand when I do my self pleasure ritual. I'm like, this is what I'm like accepting into my pussy. Okay, this is the energy that I'm like receiving into my body. And so all it like it really has made a really big difference in how I feel about what I'm eating, as far as like, oh, I feel like a little naughty. I shouldn't be eating this, to just like, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna own the pleasure in this.
yeah.
And if I do happen to have a little bit too much, because maybe we had a birthday, like two birthday parties that day or something, and like I had cake at both things like yesterday. I almost did this. There was cake and pizza, and there were snacks, and I was like, "Buddy, what do you need? What do you want? Do you want more of this cake, or are you good with one piece?" Okay, we're good. Because I know that if I have so much of something, I'll feel exhausted, or
Yeah.
I'll feel like sick to my stomach. And so it's just really listening to what our bodies are telling us, which again, pleasure practice has been a big a big help for that. But yeah, that's so amazing that doing that has helped to shift the way that you feel about food. It makes sense.
It's been a process. It's taken a long time. I've dealt with, feeling a deep shame for food like my entire life. My family used to I used to be heavier than most of my siblings, and so there was comparison, and they called me the garbage disposal. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
brutal.
poked at my belly, all
Oh,
that sort of, yeah, it's real fun.
oh,
So
yeah. No.
let's see. Oh, okay, love this one. Beauty standards. How has self-love made you look at beauty standards, either in a way that has worked for you or beauty standards you have completely let go? Also, I'm hearing the words pretty privilege coming up. I've been seeing that a lot on my TikTok account, and so I don't know if that has something to do with what we're supposed to talk about, but I'm throwing that out there too.
Oh my God, beauty standards are so weird because they change throughout time. Like you think about, we were just talking about this the other day with dick sizes, right? Like back in the back, like Greek, the small Greek dicks were the shit, and now it's like, oh, you gotta have a big cock, it's because I talk with a lot of people about this stuff. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of beauty. But anyway, so the men of course deal with it too, but as far as women, we as women, um, I I don't think about it a lot anymore. It's like when you can appreciate someone's beauty, like looking at you right now and seeing your face and noticing the features of your face and your eyes and your lips and your nose and and the way that your skin is like glowing through the screen, and like your shoulders, and like just being able to witness people beyond just like, do you have any pimples? How big are your boobs? We can't do that until we can do that for ourselves. Like we can't hold that for somebody else until we can do that for ourselves. um People will look at me and be like, oh well, you have the perfect body, like what do you know about all this? Like what? There are so many things that I have worked through with myself after having 4 kids and breastfeeding 4 kids. My boobs are not all high and perky. I've got stretch marks all over them. I've got like, they're not like, when I wear tops like this, like, yeah, I get to own it. This is me, just like, hey, I'm not wearing a bra and I'm cool with my boobs. This has
Yeah.
been a journey. um like I used to hate my nose. I used to hate my feet. I have scoliosis. I have flat feet. I have a slightly deformed spot under my knee. Like there are all these things that I don't think about until we're in this context where we're like specifically talking about it, because it's so like people just want to feel good in their bodies. And the misleading part is that what we get from our environment is that if we look this way, then you're going to feel good in your body. But you can feel good in your body no matter what size you are, what you look like, what your face is like, what color you are. And that's again another thing that is like practice in your body. Like when you feel at ease, when you feel in flow, when you feel in like, yeah, like you feel yes in your body. Somebody could walk up to you and be like, you're fucking ugly. And you will not believe them. But it is a journey. And there are different things too, depending on if you're in a tender spot in your life and you're feeling vulnerable. And you just need more of those reassurances from people that you trust and love. And maybe you're not getting enough of those. Then we're more susceptible to those messages that tell us that we're not good enough or we're not pretty enough or whatever.
I definitely, I've gone through a lot of, like you said, even because in a lot of ways I ideally fit, or I ultimately, is what I mean to say, fit the European beauty standards, right? Like you said, you know, skin tone, eyes, features. Most people look at my body, especially online, and only see the top half and assume that, you know, I'm just super skinny or whatever. But, you know, mom body. I got mom body. I got pregnant at 15, so stretch marks, boobs, full of milk and then drooping, you know, all of that
Yeah.
happened before before I even had an opportunity to rock my cute 23-year-old perky titty little tight booty self, you know.
I know.
I didn't get all that. But on this journey, I really did learn, like, even if other people assume you fit a beauty standard, that does not fucking mean that you feel that way. And there is so
Yeah.
much work to do within yourself, especially, like I said, being a person who was chunky as a child. I dealt with people treating me one way because they thought I was obese, and then people treating me different because they thought I was, you know, skinny enough and pretty enough, or, you know, all this shit. Um, it's been a struggle, but seeing content creators like you and seeing other content creators who are completely different than me but also take on this self-love, pleasure, joy, embracing your happiness, embracing your peace, all of this vibe that they embody teaches me so much about loving and appreciating my body and the food too, my pleasure, and learning to accept that there are things about me that I don't like, that I sometimes hate, and that I struggle with even while going through self love. A lot of people think it's
Yeah.
all high vibes, sparkles, and rainbows. It's like, it's not. There's days where even though people see me as this confident bad bitch, because that's how they see me online, I'm crying in the
Yeah.
shower, rocking back and forth, thinking I am an ugly beast looking thing. Body dysmorphia will
Yeah.
do that to you. Like, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. 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 And see, but again, both things can be true at once, right? Like you can have this like vibrance to you and this confidence. And then there are still things that you don't feel confident about. That doesn't mean that like you have, oh shit, I'm not there yet. Like we're
Yeah.
never gonna get there. Okay, as long as we're in human bodies and we're like if we were getting there, we probably would like expand beyond the human experience. Okay, like we wouldn't be in this life. That's just my thought on it. But I've yet to meet a human being that doesn't have human moments.
I would love to see, sometimes I always just get like visions of content I would like to see that I want to create someday. I would love to create content where I film myself and other people in moments where not necessarily that they don't know they're being filmed, but they like not consciously focusing on being filmed and
Yeah.
experiencing raw emotions like that, just to see the process of feeling it, loving yourself through it, regulating, and
Yeah.
lifting yourself back. You know what? I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. 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 Still it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
well, now
why.
that we talked about my future self, last question I have here. What do you plan to do for your future self, or as your future self, I guess? for and as to expand your self-love journey even further than you have already?
Mm. Well, the number one thing that comes to mind is I'm going to keep listening to that voice, whatever it's not. I don't know where it's going to lead me, but I trust it. I sense that I'm going to be doing some more music again. I don't know in what capacity. I mean, since things are starting to open up again, I'm feeling like that kind of pull. Um, and I feel very excited and like a lot of anticipation around, I don't know exactly what this will look like, but like having other women trained and ready to help more women deepen their pleasure.
Yes.
And I might like start a custom made, like the yoni ones that yeah, that are just something different that I picture. Just a lot of these things, retreats and events. The more events that we're going to, we're like, yeah, I miss doing events. I don't feel like it's go time yet. Like I haven't felt that yet. But Ryan and I will be doing some events together. There are just a lot of like excitement about whatever the future holds. And I don't know when or like how exactly, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's fun.
exciting.
It
That's
feels fun.
exciting. It's a
It's like,
surprise.
oh, surprise. Yeah, yeah.
I am so happy for you for all of that and wish you the best of luck in everything that comes to your mind because man oh man, every time I see you and you cross my mind, I'm just like, I hope you're doing
Ah,
so well. And I'm so grateful for all your content, everything that you do. And I do plan on purchasing access to a couple courses coming up. I
yes.
had to invest in some equipment, but after the money stocks up again, I have some content creators who I'm like, okay, you booking a reading with you, buying a course from you.
Yeah, girl. Keep making a list.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for joining me again. It's always a pleasure. For those of you who are looking for more content from Luci, I will leave everything linked down below in the description box, and we hope to see you on the next episode of My Presence Reclaimed. Have a good one.